Hi, in this video, we'll look at how to configure a data store and how to use that data store inside an agent flow with the data store node. Data store is useful when you want to keep lookup data inside the platform and allow your agent to search that data during execution. For example, you may want to store employee information, vendor details, product records, or any other structured reference data that your agent can quickly look up. Let's start by creating the data store. First, go to Settings, and then open Data Store. Here, we can configure a new data store. We'll begin by entering the basic information, such as label and description. Once that is filled in, click Save. After the data store is created, the next step is to define the columns. These columns represent the type of data you want to store. You will also see options like Download Template, Import, and Export. For this example, we'll create a simple employee directory. So the columns we'll add are employee ID, employee name, department, and manager name. Once the columns are ready, we need to add data into the data store. The easiest way is to first download the template. This template gives you the correct CSV format based on the columns you created. So we download the template, fill in the employee data in the CSV file, and then come back here to import it. After clicking Import File, we upload the completed CSV. Once the file is imported successfully, all the records from that CSV will appear in the data store. At this point, the basic configuration of the data store is complete. Now let's see how to access this data inside an agent flow. For that, we'll open an existing action. In this action, we already have a query parameter called query. We'll use that as the input for our example. For demo purposes, we also already have an LLM extraction node in the flow. This node helps extract the important search values from the user query. For example, if the user asks, "Who is the manager of Priya Patil?" the extraction node identifies the employee name from that question. Next, we add the data store node to the workflow. Once the node is added, we connect it to the existing flow. Inside this node, the first option is to select the data store from the dropdown. For this demo, we'll select Employee Directory. Then we choose the operation. Here, you'll see different options such as Get or Update. Since we want to search records and retrieve data, we'll use the Get operation. Now, the data store node expects input in the same format as the data store columns. In our example, that means Employee ID, Employee Name, Department, and Manager Name. So we want the data coming from the previous node to be transformed into this format. To do that, we create the input schema. You also have the option to generate this schema using AI. For this example, we simply provide the keys that the node expects: Employee ID, Employee Name, Department, Manager Name. Then we click Generate Schema. The AI creates the schema for us automatically. Mapping the data. Once the schema is created, the next step is transformation. This is where we map the values coming from the previous node into the format expected by the data store node. In simple terms, we are telling the workflow that the extracted value should be used as the search input for the data store. So we map the extracted employee-related fields into the corresponding data store fields. Once that mapping is done, we click Save. At this point, the data store node setup is complete. Now let's see it working. We run the agent and ask a question such as, "Who is the manager of Arjun?" When this query is submitted, the flow first extracts the search value from the question. Then the data store node checks the employee directory. It finds the matching employee record, retrieves the related data, and returns the result. So in this case, the system looks up Arjun Patel in the data store and returns the manager name. And that's how the answer is generated using the stored lookup data. Use data store when your agent needs to search structured records again and again. It is a good fit for lookup-based data such as employee details, vendor lists, product records, or other reference information. And that's how you can configure a data store and use it inside your agent flow with the data store node. With this approach, your agent can search stored records quickly and return accurate results based on user queries. And with that, thank you for watching.